Hi, I'm Emma, she, her.
And I'm Jess, she, her.
And this is Fluff,
the podcast about friendship, love, unfortunate failure, and fun. The monthly visitor, the blob. Code red.
Ooh.
These might be some terms that you might otherwise call or refer to menstruation or periods.
Yay!
Which is what we're talking about today.
And we are both about to have ours. So I feel like we are feeling the effects at the moment.
My breasts are telling me it's coming any minute now.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep last night, Emma, because my tits were hurting so much and I just couldn't lie in them in any particular position. And what's happening, podcast listeners, is because we're all quarantining together, me, Emma, and her wife Ingrid, whether it's true or not about the kind of syncing up together, but I immediately synced up with Ingrid and then you were a little bit further ahead, but it's now like we're waiting for you.
Yeah, you guys are both late and I'm being pulled forward and not to mention the emotional turmoil that comes with three bleeding women.
We were spacing it out before with terms of support, like, okay, somebody's got a little bit of PMS, premenstrual stress right now, we'll support them, but now we're just all in it at the same time.
Yeah. But before we get too dirty into this not dirty topic, excuse you for thinking it was dirty, we're going to remind you quickly that we are at the moment celebrating Jess's birthday bonanza. Woohoo! Big birthday bonanza, I forgot a B. Improper alliteration.
We love alliteration.
Yeah, and you are still, as listeners, able to enter the birthday bonanza by submitting images of your fluffiest items. So this is for Jess's big 30th birthday, which is in 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks.
Yay.
Where Jess is going to select from the submissions the top 3 items. One will be the fluffiest, one will be the funkiest, and one will be the funniest.
Yeah, and we said last week, like, be bold, be brave, take
Don't
us
hold back.
No.
Yeah.
Emma and I would like to enter it because we keep seeing things around the flat, but no, that is up to you.
And the 3 winners will get 3 amazing birthday-themed prizes. So please do get involved. How you do it is you take a picture of the item, you post it on your social media, and you tag us. Amazing.
Easy as that.
Yeah.
And
easy,
funny and entertaining for us.
breezy, beautiful. Period, girl.
Period. That's what we've got to say about that.
In North America, do you have the brand Kotex here?
Yeah, it rings. Is it like period pants, like the pads?
Yeah. But you say what do you say to the thing at the end of the sentence? Point.
Period. Oh, full stop.
You say full stop. Sorry, yes. I think in Italian it's punto. But we call that a period. So there's a play on words where it says Kotex fits. Period. But I just find it really difficult here to remember that it's full stop, and that joke doesn't work here because you don't call it that.
Sure. And that actually means when I was doing some research on periods earlier, actually when typing in information about periods, or like, I did type in Italian word for period, and it was all coming up with, as you say, like language-based things.
Yeah.
So I suppose menstruation is the kind of scientific word maybe that we might start with.
So we want to talk about this because it's really important to remember, as much as it's considered a taboo subject, that more than half the population bleeds in a monthly cycle related to having a uterus. And it's just actually, we want to sort of break down the barriers around it being a taboo subject because it's just part of your sort of daily functioning.
Yeah, and it's also such a connecting thing. Like, there's nothing like talking with somebody who is bleeding or does bleed and just kind of opening up about it. It's kind of like a secret society, I find, of people who have periods.
Yeah, except for most people do it, so it's not even that secret.
Yeah, and you've got to connect and laugh about it. You've got to support each other, wallow together.
Yes.
Because it is so extreme for many, the impacts of having a period, both kind of like physically and the pain that comes with it, emotionally.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, the emotions that can come with it. But also we're going to talk about queer bodies as well, because it can also be a time of trauma for some people.
Yeah, and a lot of shame around periods.
Yeah, and it's such an indicator, or always been linked with women and girls, whereas actually we're here to say that anybody with a uterus that is still menstruating or is menstruating can have a period. So we won't be ourselves using such thing as when women have periods, girls have periods. We'll be saying people who have periods, which is a nice inclusive term.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think for me, Emma, I just really appreciate periods as an indicator of a healthy body, a good body that's working quite well. I had my first period at 14, and by that point I was ready for it because friends were having their periods. But I only had 1 or 2 because then I was quite unwell for a few years, which was just a clear sign of my body not being healthy. And I remember then I actually started my periods at age 20, 21.
Wow.
And that actually was quite scary for me because there's a lot of, I suppose the periods help keep your bones strong and stuff like this. And when I got it at 21, I was so excited. But I had to go through the whole education like a young teen in a way. Like my friends all sent me celebratory tampon boxes in the post. And I remember being in a public toilet and my friend standing outside, and I went through so many tampons.
Of course.
Because I couldn't figure out how to put it in, and she was guiding me outside.
I mean, it's one of those things where you can read as much as you want about it, but the actual practice of dealing with that part of your body, inserting something, only comes with the experience.
Yeah. And I said, you never quite master it. Every single period, so I've been having them for a few years now, regularly, every single period shocks me. I'm still like, how can you affect my mood this much? How can you hurt this much? How can I bleed so much? How can I stain my pants, my clothes, my bedding every month and still not like get on top of that or something? Or still haven't figured out just how many panty liners I might need to wear.
I think that what's the hardest thing is that, you know, as you age, your body changes, and so therefore so do your periods. So as soon as you feel like I feel like I had a difficult first few years, lots of cramps. In fact, I used to make myself sick. It was so painful. And then it was great for like a decade. And then I was like, periods? That's not even a problem. And then suddenly they're problematic and painful again. And I'm always shocked how upset I can get right before and right after, kind of all the way through the cycle. And how it's like, damn it, I thought that was real, and I cried about that rice cake for no reason yesterday.
But it's always a sense of relief, isn't it, listeners? If you have periods, there's just like, oh, okay, thank God. Because I remember last year literally curling up in a ball on my living room floor, rocking back and forth, just thinking, oh my gosh, I have hit rock bottom. I'm in absolute depths of despair, which I did feel. It was so real at the time, and I was really concerned about myself. But then I got my period the next day, and I was just like, oh. And Emma and I sometimes on our dark days might message each other, and then the next day is like, got my period.
Yeah. And it's almost that like, embarrassing moment of, I'm sorry I said all that yesterday. Okay, but before we can talk more about our depths of despair, our darkest hours, what are we drinking?
So, Emma Bar, today, as period cramps for many do start up to 1 to 2 weeks before your period begins, I've got here a little remedy to help us with those cramps, because I'm starting to get some ovary twitches.
Oh boy.
And here we have just a ginger tea.
Oh,
that's right. That's right, podcast listeners.
You should be so proud of us, podcast listeners. We are recording this on
Wednesday,
Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah. But we are actually going off of alcohol for a few days, at least until Friday.
Yeah.
Because we had quite low moods last week and the anxiety was not good.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to tell you about the ginger tea, why this? So, in that week or 2 weeks before you begin a period, you produce what is called prostaglandins. And these are inflammatory compounds that work to help the uterus contract to release the uterine lining, i.e. your period. So what we need are really good herbal teas that help with that inflammation. So ginger is fantastic, fresh ginger. All I've done, hot water, and I've just grated some ginger in. And they say if you have this 4 times a day, I mean, that's a big ask.
Wow.
Yeah, but it can help reduce the excess prostaglandins, which is what gives you the cramps. So if you have excess prostaglandins, yeah.
Another really great tea for uterine health in general is anything with raspberry leaf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very, very good for uterine health, just at any point in your cycle.
Fantastic. So we're looking for raspberry leaves, and also fennel, peppermint and cinnamon are also good to pop in some hot water if you want, to help you with those menstrual cramps.
Yay!
So, should we give it a go? I've still put like a little garnish on it.
It still looks like a nice cocktail.
Cheers.
But, I love tea.
Oh, it's freaking gorgeous.
Oh, it's just clean.
It tastes better than the last few random cocktails we've had.
Yeah.
That is really yummy. It's literally, everybody, fresh ginger grated.
In hot water. Absolutely lovely. Also great for your throat and your vocal folds.
Yeah, I need a bit of that right now.
Ginger, essentially good for everything. Heals every remedy. Heals every ailment, I think.
Yeah, and it tastes great in curries and photos. Health in a cup. So, everybody, maybe we just need to break down what is a period.
Let's just clarify, because I'm really interested to know if you're someone who chooses to listen to this and does not experience a period. And then I'm kind of interested to know if that you're that person, what you know about periods, actually. So if you want to let us know afterwards at Fluff Creatives, we'd be fascinated, because I think period education is a problem in general for those who have periods.
Yes.
And those who don't. But Jess, can you tell us, what's a period?
Absolutely, because you may have not ever had the education at school or from family, or it may just be so long that we've kind of taken it for granted now. But yeah, they say the average age that somebody might get their period is 12. However, it can be either way of that, depending on that individual. So clues that it might start soon. I remember having, we're going in there, little round, my mum called them buds, which were my nipples. And I remember feeling these like little round things where my nipples were going to be.
What, like erect nipples?
No, like basically little balls under my current nipples.
Underneath?
Yeah, they were like little lip. And then I said to my mum, what are these balls under there?
We're both holding our breasts while we speak about
I'm just having a cup and a feel.
I'm just thinking, what do you mean? So, and that goes away. That's just at the beginning.
So that's the start of your breast developing, because then once your breast develop, they say the period comes 2 years after.
But what about if your breast developed like 4 to 5 years before you had your period?
That I would lead back to we are all individuals, and
that's my experience, everyone.
Anyway, yeah.
Titsy McGee over here.
Oh, Titsy McGee. They are great tits. We've seen a lot of each other. But yeah, the period is basically a change in hormones in the body. And hormones are chemical messengers. So the ovaries are releasing the hormones of estrogen and progesterone. Thank you, progesterone. They don't make it easy to talk about, do they? And these are the hormones that cause the lining of the uterus to build up. And that built up lining is then ready for a fertilized egg to attach to and start developing. So if there's no fertilized egg that month, then the lining is going to break down and you're going to bleed. And that is the same process that happens over and over and over again, usually in a month cycle. So, yeah.
And do you have information on there about at what point people stop having periods?
Oh.
We were talking about this the other day, actually, about the next phase. Not that to tell us about the next phase, but it can last for quite a while, and also you can be going through both phases for quite a while.
So do you mean the period in general, in each individual?
Oh no, sorry, I was talking about menopause, about the other side.
I don't actually have that information here, but hold on, no, I do. Menopause is usually around the age of 45 to 55, which is when periods will permanently stop. That's what the menopause mean. So yeah, that's that. But otherwise, you can expect to have your period on average for 5 days is the average cycle. Wow. But again, I know people who have like 2 days, or people have a week. Some people have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, my ginger is just cleansing my
burping mechanism.
Yeah, so as soon as your period starts, you can get pregnant, and also just before your period.
Really important information.
It's saying here that if you haven't had your first period, you can still be pregnant because you might be about to start.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. Oh, what about how much blood comes out? I like this one. Because I, for one, think that I bleed mugs and buckets worth. But it
my naturopath used to ask in pints. Oh. And when I was using tampons, I was always wondering, like, I don't know how you know how much you have. We now use a different mechanism, which is easier to tell. But what is the average?
So average, it says a few tablespoons during the whole period, which is a lot, and it makes you feel really faint because you're losing blood. But it says that most people might need to change their sanitary wear, such as your pads, your tampons, your menstrual cups, 3 to 6 times a day. And let's just go back to the PMS as well, which is premenstrual syndrome, or it might be PMT, premenstrual tension. And that is the emotional and physical symptoms that occur before and during the period. Yeah. These can include moodiness, sadness, anxiety, bloating. I definitely know that one.
Yeah.
And acne.
And this is not to say, because this is a nice regular discussion I have, that the feelings that you're having and the things that are triggering you are not things that would trigger you without premenstrual syndrome. It's just that you're more likely to feel things at a more visceral level than you would normally. Yeah. So if you don't have a period, never say to someone who has a period, oh, it's just because you're on your period that you're feeling this way.
Yeah, exactly. But it's available for you to use as an excuse as and when you like. And then just before we get further into it, we really wanted to highlight at the start of our podcast how it isn't, you may have seen actually a lot of media which is saying like not all women bleed, it's not just women who have periods. And that is because we are saying that anyone with the uterus and a vagina can menstruate, regardless of their identity. So, for example, trans men, non-binary people, and people of all genders can menstruate and do. And
likewise, trans women might not menstruate, but that doesn't make them less of a woman.
Exactly. And that's so hard as well, because there's so many problems that can happen with the ovaries, with the uterus, that can mean that somebody doesn't have a period.
Yeah.
And this is just really interesting. I didn't know about this. The period product company Always, which we have in the UK, I'm not sure how global it is.
Oh, I don't remember.
So they very recently announced that they're going to remove the Venus symbol, which is commonly used as a female emblem, from their packaging to show that they are inclusive of all genders that menstruate.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, period packaging in general is very like, oh, and like, can we talk about period commercials? It's always like a girl in a skirt spins around and then it's a tampon spinning around and somehow you understand what that is.
And the period is always blue.
Yes, it's always blue liquid because periods are dirty. In fact, I've got loads of period facts for you about periods through the years and the history of periods, and I'm just going to whack them out one at a time throughout the episode here.
Sure.
So here's where it all starts. Periods have been frowned upon by civilized civilizations forever. Ancient Romans thought menstruating women were basically dark witches.
Oh. Part of me wants to be a dark witch.
Yeah, they thought that they could stop hailstorms, whirlwinds, and lightning, and they would kill crops, and that menstrual blood drove dogs mad.
Right. So misunderstood, and again, like, people who bleed being penalised. But there's that great quote which says, anything you can do, I can do bleeding.
Yes.
Which is so true, because Emma and I have said we teach, and sometimes when we're teaching, say, 6-year-olds, and you've already set this standard of being quite an active teacher, rolling around, being silly, and sometimes I'm teaching and I can just feel blood pouring out of me. I might not have anything
there. Or you
there.
cough or you sneeze and it feels like a small octopus has exploded from your vagina, and you're like, well...
I can so picture it with all the 8 legs as well, just going everywhere.
Yeah. And that's what it feels like.
And I get my cramps and my pain in my asshole.
Oh,
I get like, not so much in my ovaries, but I feel like somebody is just like pressing like the almightiest weight on my asshole. Oh. And sometimes when it happens, I can't walk. So I might be walking down a busy London street and I just have to stop because I've got this cramp in my asshole and I can't move. And sometimes I'm teaching and I just make it look like a dramatic pause for thought. Oh. And then I'm just deep breathing. Yeah. And I'm like, so yes, as we were going, turtle.
I've only started getting like cramps in the last couple of years. I had a lot of ups and downs of weight in my 20s, and then a lot of stress, which I feel like massively impacted my period. And then in literally the last 4 periods, I've had cramps that hurt, like, to the point where I can't get out of bed, which I always used to make fun of people for. I know, bad, because I just thought that they were being dramatic, until I learned that was not dramatic. That's just, oh my God.
Yeah.
So kudos to anyone who has periods and still is expected to work, and has periods that are painful to that extent. Or anyone who has
endometriosis.
Thank you. I was like, anyone who, which is...
So endometriosis, I believe... I don't want to
let's not do it incorrectly.
But I know people who have it and are just in excruciating pain. They may vomit, they may faint. So I believe it's something to do with maybe... Is it to do with clots, maybe? Am I right?
Painful disorder in which tissue similar to the tissue that normally lines the inside of the uterus grows outside of your uterus.
Ah, right.
So it includes your entire reproductive system. But it is massively aggravated by periods. So those individuals will have a very difficult time. A lot of them will have to not work in those occasions. And can you imagine, this is 1 week or more every month of your whole life?
Yeah. That is a lot to endure. And let's go back to when we started enduring it, or when we were first told about periods. I really can't remember school education, but Emma and I both discussed our parents or mums discussing it with us. I don't remember exactly, but I remember we were around the dinner table, the dinner plates were cleared, and then for some reason at like 8 p.m, my sister and my dad went out.
Yeah. And
we lived in the countryside. I was like, where are they going? And then my mum was like, Jessica, please come upstairs to the bathroom. And then got out like a bag of sanitary pads and started to explain to me about periods. And I remember being really shy and embarrassed and like, Mum, this is so unnecessary. Mum, we don't need to talk about this. But I suppose, thank God she did, because it meant that when I got my period, mostly from school friends, that you know what's coming. But I think, as we've said, some people start their periods really young and haven't been told what they are, or start them at an average age but haven't been told what they are.
Yeah.
How terrifying to not know why blood is coming from your vagina.
Oh my God, yeah. Or where the pain is coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's quite a difficult thing because it has been so gendered. There's an expectation that the female identifying parent will take this on. So I feel like it must be very difficult in households where there are either 2 male parents or 1 male parent, how to approach that subject with a child who bleeds. So maybe we'll have some tips today about sort of the ideas around it.
But I was just going to say that Ingrid shared with us the other day that Ingrid's mum said something really cool, actually. It was so simple and so effective. Ingrid's mum explained periods to her as you would eat salad to detox or keep a healthy gut, your womb has a period to detox it and keep it healthy.
Yeah.
So again, it's that kind of redding of things that your body just can't have right then.
I think just sticking to the explanation that it's a healthy body that bleeds, it just makes it less of a scary subject. It's something to be grateful for having then instead of regretting.
Yeah.
Before I tell you my period origin story, I've got another fact for you.
Love it.
Medieval Europeans burnt toads to ease a heavy flow.
Oh, well, there is a clear
They
link.
used to wear the ashes in a pouch near your vagina and expected that would ease your flow.
Gosh, I do feel... No, credit to all people through history who have done some interesting things.
I'm very grateful to be alive now.
Yeah. I hope that they felt that it was helping in that time.
Yeah.
Rather than like, I'm constantly putting these burnt toad ashes in my pants and it's not helping.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Yeah.
My period origin story. Well, I said I developed my tits really early, and I also had my girls, and I also had pubic hair before 10. So my mum, I think, was really not concerned, but was convinced I was going to get it quite early, and so I was a child still getting out of the bath with mum in the room, which means that I must have been quite young. I think I was 8. And she said, Emma, do you know what a period is? And I said, it comes at the end of a sentence.
Cutie! Little Emma.
And then I think she explained it then, but the best thing my mum's done, not the best thing, but my mum's really genius parenting technique has always been teach through a book. So when there was something I didn't understand or I needed to learn about, there was always a book on my bed that I could read at my own pace and explore at my own pace. And when I did first get my period, actually wasn't until I was 13. So actually a lot of my friends had already had it. We'd learned about it in school by then. But I was given an emergency kit. I think even in advance, I had an emergency kit that I carried with me every day, just in case.
I just remembered like being at school and that like little purse or that little bag that held your sanitary pads in falling out or your bag was slightly open and somebody be like, "Ah, look, you got sanitary pads in." Oh my God, the fear of, I still like putting your tampon in your back pocket quickly or like trying to, or because not many women's clothes have pockets, like I don't know, trying to shove it up your sleeve.
Being a girl and just being like, asking to go to the toilet and then having to grab your little bag and all the other girls in the room know why you need that little bag with you.
Exactly.
Funny.
The dramas of it.
But when I did get my period, my mum gave me a charm on a charm bracelet, a little red heart, which was really cute. I still have it somewhere.
That's really positive and showing that, I suppose it's something to be proud of as well.
We're going to look at later different cultural expectations around periods around the world. And lots of cultures do have celebrations when the young woman first menstruates.
Yeah. I know some people describe like their parents or their guardian crying when they get their period because I suppose, as we said, it's a sign of like a healthy, maturing body.
Yeah.
So before we go, I've got some funny period anecdotes to hopefully make you giggle. But I did a little bit of research on different words that are used for period around the world. So I'm just going to dash these throughout the episode as well. Dash sounds a funny word now. I don't know. Dribble. Poor. Sorry, everybody. So this is a really cool survey which was reported in The Independent, a news source over here, and it had 90,000 responses spanning from 190 different countries about words that you call your menstruation, your period. So this is really interesting. France and China spoke about periods in 91% slang terms, followed by Denmark at 86%.
Wow.
So there's the idea of, not being able to say the real word or feeling a bit uncomfortable maybe. Let's just start with some good old UK entries, and I'm going to build up because they just get great. Have you heard of any of these, listeners and Emma? Aunty Flo.
Yeah. Classic.
Oh, of course, time of the month, TOM. On the rags.
Yeah.
The Red River, the Red Moon, the Red Army, the Red Curse.
Yeah.
Well, this one is, we wouldn't use this, but I don't like this. Lady time, my lady friend.
That's not as bad as on the rag.
On the rag, or ragging as well.
Yeah.
Having the painters in. I feel that is so used by men or male identity. She's got the painters in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
My dad doesn't even say he's going to the toilet. He'll just refer to,
down the hall.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just going to pop down the hall.
Peter Bar, you're going to the toilet.
Yeah.
And then I said at the start, the blob, which is the worst. Again, I think used by people against people who have the period. Bloody Mary and Shark Week.
I like that one.
And we're going to pause there. These are some kind of, I suppose, British ones there. I cannot wait to talk about France. So I do have some funny stories, embarrassing ones maybe as well. I think generally every month I bleed heavy and I just I use a moon cup, which is like a menstrual cup which gathers it. I use the tulip cup also now, which has like a little filter that you can squeeze and release. So you don't have to take it out. It is cool. But I just seem to never be able to quite change it in time. So I'm often like teaching or something. I'm like, brilliant, I am bleeding on my jeans or I'm bleeding on my leggings. I don't know really where to start. So I once was in Malaysia and I met this guy and he'd been really nice and was taking me diving. Just out, like this should cost a lot of money, but we just made friends and he was taking me scuba diving. So we spent like up to 2 weeks together, and then on like the last time I saw him, we were at the beach and then I changed out of my bikini and I'd come on my period. So I had blood all in my bikini bottoms. And then
I changed through or just pooling in the...
It was just like, it was white fabric, like lining. So basically the bottom of my bikini bottoms were just totally red.
Yeah.
And then he drove me back to the hostel where I was staying, and I'd changed into my just day wear. And I'd left my bikini in the back seat.
Oh,
and then we said goodbye. We parted ways. And I never saw him again. But I left him the gift of my very bloody bikini bottoms. Oh, God. It's going red in the cheeks. Yeah, so this was kind of an instant of being like, oh, fabulous, great. Emma helped me last year with this situation. So I hooked up with somebody, and I'd gone on a couple of dates with them, you know, as a bit of I paced myself. And but then we sealed the deal one night, and I slept with her. And then I came on my period, or I was on my period the first time that we slept together. And it took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it. And she just said, like, oh, Jess, like, no problem, but just to let you know, you are bleeding, and it is everywhere. Oh. And I looked down, and it was like on the sheets. It was somehow like, oh God, I'm going deep. But then I was like, why is it on the fucking wall? Like, it was just, I was like, oh no, I've literally bled everywhere.
Wow.
And then the next morning, then we just like went to sleep. And then the next morning, she had to go to work.
Your blood?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was late. It was like 3 a.m. And then she had to go to work early in the morning. So I was like out at 6. And then I woke up and I got out of bed, and I had to leave as well. And I just looked at the state of the sheets. And what did I do? Text Emma. And I said, I feel like I should put these in the washing machine. I'd actually taken the sheets off and put them in the washing machine. I hadn't been to this chick's house before, so I was just rooting around. And then I text Emma and said, but now I feel weird about washing her sheets. Like, what if she has a specific detergent or a specific temperature that she likes to wash her sheets on? And so I texted Emma, I was like, should I put them back on? And Emma, what did you say?
I was like, no one wants to have bloody sheets to come home to. Don't be disgusting. Wash them.
Yeah. So I just put everything in the washing machine, put it on and left. And I just texted and I said, thanks for being kind of really cool about that. I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting it. Although you don't need to apologise, because, hey, it just hits you like that.
No, but you do need to clean up after yourself.
Yeah, so I did.
Don't, like, poo all over the floor and leave it.
And do you know what? It was actually, she was, like, very grateful about it. And we would have gone on another date, but then I wasn't. Actually, we did.
I think that's a different story. Yeah, that was your first time sleeping together.
Yeah.
No, that
really
period did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with how much you bleed on things, to be honest. And it must be that you do actually have quite a lot of blood. And actually, Ingrid as well is a bleeder.
She is.
And I've never had that amount. In fact, only in the last year has my amount increased, but never to the point where I've bled past my pants.
Yeah. Oh, well done.
Thank you. But it just shocks me that both you and Ingrid can go to bed on your period and be shocked in the morning that there's blood on the sheets.
Yeah.
I just think, how does this happen?
And that is wearing, like, thick pants, or maybe, like, period pants that we have.
Yeah.
Wearing a moon cup, wearing a pad as well.
Layer on layer. In fact, a few weeks ago, Jess has left this one out, but a few weeks ago, I also helped Jess with period, and I cleaned a pair of her pants. Because she was wearing... for some reason, had decided on her period to wear some nice pants, some, like, fancy lacy ones in, like, a neon yellow. Yeah. Worst colour to mix with menstrual blood. But she had questions about how to wash it. And thank you, Wendy, my mum, for teaching me how to get blood out of things. Ooh, that sounds dodgy. It's just period related.
Yeah.
Cold water, everyone.
Yeah. Oh.
Ooh, another coincidence.
Maybe it's some toilet roll delivery for the massacre week that's about to happen. But Emma was so sweet, because I was just like, oh, these are new lacy pants. I was really excited about them. And then I was just obviously feeling a bit emotional. And there's Emma just in the sink, just scrubbing them. It's like, no worries. And it was just cold water. But I do bleed a lot onto bedding, and this is my final humorous anecdote. So you may all know that I had a breakup last year and I had to move quickly out the flat.
No, you?
Yeah, me! And I'm over it. I'm actually over it.
Say it again just to make sure we really know.
No, I actually am over it. And this is... oh yeah, I'm so over it, because, you know,
Coming up to the anniversary.
Yeah, we are. It's so soon. And when I moved out of our flat, I wanted nothing except anything that was just mine. And even that, I was like, I'm not even asked. But the one thing that I took was our mattress topper. Because I was like, I would like to have a good night's sleep. So I'm taking the mattress topper. But of course, it was covered in freaking blood, and both of our bloods, because we both were really heavy. And I was just like, do I want this? But it cost £40, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to take it. Actually, I think I'm ready to dispose of that.
Yeah, you might want to move on now.
I actually have no remnants of her in my whole entire life.
But you've got some blood.
Life's weird, everybody. Speaking of interesting, should we look up some more lingo, some more language?
Yeah, and I've got more facts.
Okay, we've got it all for you. Okay, let's start with, oh my gosh. Let's go for China. Basically, the translation, some slang is, its little sister has come. Its little sister has come. What do you think that might mean?
It's like your little sister.
Oh.
Like Aunt Flo, your little sister.
Oh, your little sister. Oh my gosh, in Finland, I'm going to try and pronounce this. Hulum lehman tauti. Oh, it means mad cow disease. Oh, that's not very inclusive. But Germany, this is quite nice, calls it Erdbeerwoche, which means strawberry week.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice.
Smells better than period week.
Yeah. And I'm going to leave that on that because I would like to hear some facts, please, Emma Barr.
Oh, excellent. Well, this one I think you'll find particularly interesting. And listeners, we're just going to keep you guessing. Period blood was thought to be an aphrodisiac. 19th century Brits thought menstruating ruined food, so women weren't allowed to cook while menstruating. They thought it would make it go rancid.
Nice to have a night off.
Yeah, I guess. You can go on.
Oh, amazing. Oh, they did spark something there. What was I thinking of? What was your first fact again?
Period blood was thought to be an aphrodisiac.
Oh, no, we're not going over that one again. Oh, no, it was. Who gets horny on their period?
Oh, muchly.
I muchly do.
Oh, yeah. And much better orgasms.
Yeah, because apparently you're more sensitive around that time.
Of course you are.
So just kind of lay a towel down and get to it. With yourself or with another person.
Yeah,
or persons.
I think if you can get past the pain part of your uterus, if you're like at that point, it's great.
But they say like a little bit of exercise does help with period pain.
That is so true.
So maybe a little bit of jiggy-joo.
Yeah. Oh, and then this actually leads on to another one, which I think might lead on to the country in question for your words.
Please.
The French thought period sex would lead to monsters being born. So if you had sex in a period and conceived, you'd have a monster baby.
Oh my gosh. I feel so sorry for people who haven't had that education. And this still goes for today because Emma's going to go into it, but kind of around cultural expectations and things where some people just still are not educated, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
My final one from the survey done here about slang and terms used for the period. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm going to leave some of them out, but this is just really tickled me. So the French term, l'anglais ont d'abord. Do you know what it means?
The English, and then I don't know what you said in the second bit.
The English have landed. From the French, which makes me laugh because there are histories
it's a very bloody history.
Yeah, but that just made me laugh. And then we were having a little giggle earlier because l'anglais und débarque. Well, everyone in the UK, according to Boris Johnson, speaks French.
Oh, yeah.
We all know what that term means, don't we? Yeah, we all know. That is referring to a terrible speech that was delivered this week or at the weekend by Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, not my Prime Minister, thank you. Who tried to refer to COVID in the French phrase, and then said the French phrase, and then went, "Oh well, we all know the French phrase.
Yeah, you know what that means.
You know what that means."
Which some of you lovely people will, especially if you speak French. Welcome, bonjour. But if you don't, that's just a very elitist way of speaking, Boris. Think about it next time.
So elitist. What a snob. So I'm done with my slang. Emma, I know you have an abundance
I have so much research. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to give you just a couple more facts because they're fun. World War I revolutionized the sanitary towels because basically before then it was not an industry, and female identifying nurses were seeing how much their their bandages were absorbing blood, and they realized, why don't we turn this into a product?
Yes.
Incredible.
But then those products, Emma, which might lead into some of your research, have become such a big business.
Yeah.
Like, it is so expensive to have a period.
Yeah.
Because sanitary wear, such as your tampons, and also, like, the cheaper the tampon, the kind of...
The worse it is for your body, let alone the worse the experience it is. Yeah, and they decompose while they're inside you, so you're getting bits of cotton in your body.
Yeah, which is obviously not good.
Yeah.
And also, I've read that tampons have this chemical in them that make you bleed more, so that you need to buy more tampons.
Oh, that is so twisted.
Yeah, that's total taking over our body.
Shoot. Well, I've got a couple, just to finish the facts off, there's a few things just about the history of sanitary products. So in the 1890s to the 1970s, women wore the sanitary belt. I don't know if you've ever seen one. My mum told me about it. It's literally, here's an image here, but it literally was like a harness that goes around your hips and like clips onto a sanitary towel. It wasn't disposable yet.
I mean,
that you like strap on. It looks like a sexy thing. Like it looks like a sex strap-on.
I was gonna say,
thing.
Google it, everyone. It looks kind of like a harness, but also like a chastity belt.
Yeah. So imagine having like a belted thing on you
when you're bloated and cramping.
Exactly, when you're feeling horrible. And it was an American doctor who invented the modern tampon in 1929. But there's been lots of issues around tampons, even culturally. Those who think that inserting into your vagina destroys your virginity is quite a problematic thing. So the pads or sanitary napkins have often been preferred.
I hate that word.
Me too. But it's the official term. And before we sort of talk a little bit more about periods and period culture around the world, can we just explain like what the products are, what you can use? We've been sort of dropping words.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, what is a sanitary napkin, Jessica?
So a sanitary napkin, a sanitary towel, a sanitary pad is an absorbent pad that has a sticky back, so you peel off the back.
Or the disposable ones do, yeah.
Yes, and then you like put that in your pants, so no thongs that day. Although you can get thong-shaped sanitary pads as well.
Yeah.
And then some of them have wings where they like hook around your pant and latch on.
Yeah.
Some of them don't, and then they absorb that so that it doesn't leak through.
And again, you can get sort of different thicknesses and sizes depending on your flow.
The nighttime ones are super long and look like that belt going all the way up and all the way forward.
And they feel a bit like diaperish or nappy.
Yeah, I've never been able to wear them.
I do not appreciate
and they get
them.
Everyone, when it's hot weather, it gets so hot and sweaty. Like the sanitary pad is so uncomfortable, I find.
So, but it's really a personal choice what you do for your products. And actually, I've recently discovered there's a few things, if you're thinking about, because obviously the disposable stuff creates a lot of waste, which we don't need in the world. And so I have about 5 pairs of period pants, which are leak proof, that if you're wearing, I wear on top of a moon cup, which we'll talk about in a minute, so it just catches any leaks. And I find them really useful, and you just wash them and use them again. And Ingrid actually has some cloth pads that have poppers that just snap onto the bottom.
Yeah, they're really great, and I've actually borrowed and kept one of Ingrid's, and it's really comfortable and really, you can't really feel it there. I really like it. It's quite thin.
Yeah.
And Emma, you actually gave me my first pair of period boxers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which you can just walk around in.
Yeah.
Free bleed into them.
Yeah.
But I would say that they have a duration.
Yeah.
There was then a time where I'd worn them a few times.
Date. Yeah,
but they're quite good if you don't want anything down there. And that leads me into one that I've discovered over the last year, which I found people really like if periods are traumatic for them and they really don't want to feel that anything's there. And also for people who've tried the moon cup, like a friend was saying they've tried the moon cup, but their cramps are so bad that the kind of rigidness of the moon cup doesn't really contract with them.
Yeah.
So menstrual sponges.
Oh, cool.
Which are just like, you can get them like on Amazon, just like a pack of sponges, and you can reuse them. You just wash them, but they're really soft, and they contract with you.
Oh, fun. And inside.
Yeah, so you pop the sponge inside, and that's really, I've definitely heard of queer bodies have promoted these to me as not
a less intrusive
intrusive, haven't got a big female feminine attachment to them. It's just like popping a sponge in.
Yeah, cool. Wow, okay. So another, like a similar method is the tampon, which is usually a cotton ball that's got an applicator sometimes, or not, that you just shove up there with a string.
Yeah.
But you can buy reusable applicators if to reduce the plastic component at least.
Yes.
And it is worth, if you can afford it, to get the better tampons, because of the nature of the product is not healthy for you. And tampons, anything that you put inside you like that's absorbing, needs to be changed quite frequently, otherwise it can get dangerous and unhealthy.
Yeah, because I remember the fear as a teenager of getting toxic shock syndrome.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And the horror stories but also I'm going to, maybe not horror stories, because this may have happened to some of our listeners, but because it is really easy to forget if you have something inside.
Yeah, if you can't feel it anymore and you're not experiencing the rest of the symptoms, the final days of period are quite difficult to remember you've got something in.
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, on the time where I put the menstrual cup in, but I'm like, you know what, I probably don't need it, but I'm just going to put it in there because I'm teaching or I'm out and about. That can maybe, I'm like, might go to bed, and the next day I'm like, oops, I've got something up there.
Yeah. And so then the menstrual cup is something that's made out of silicone, and it is shaped like a little cup with a little point at the bottom, usually. There's actually quite a few versions now. I've actually seen one now that's a bit more like a bowl shape, which I'm quite interested in, that you insert slightly higher up, that apparently has less leakage, and also you can have sex with it in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've heard about this. Because when we were discussing it, we were like, but how can you have sex with it?
Because it's further up and it's like a different angle. So if your uterus is like this, I'm using my hands everywhere, your cup would go here. But this goes, if you sort of do it on an angle, like here. So there's this space, low space is free. I don't know how easy it is, but there's different shapes, and they vary in sizes based on the size of your body, and some people's bodies are different, perhaps after pregnancy or just differences, and so it's worth trying a few to try to find your thing. But I would never go back.
From the menstrual cup.
From the menstrual cup. I think there's a lot of fear around it because, number one, you have to get really up close and personal with yourself.
Yeah.
To insert it and learning how to insert it, it's an experience of your hand has to go in there.
Yeah.
The twisting it to get it in place, to get it to suction, is a bit scary at first. And also, on removal, you are pulling out a cup of blood.
Oh, I've splashed it all over the bathroom.
And also, you do want to be in a place then where you have a sink, so it's hard to do in public toilets. It's not impossible. I've definitely done it loads.
Yeah.
But the bonus of it is you can leave it in up to 12 hours. So it's the only, if you don't overflow, like our friend Jess here. So it's the only product I can use where I can forget I have a period.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've really enjoyed the Moon Cup. But yeah, I think if you can get a cubicle that's got a sink in it, then that's really handy. But even then, sometimes I'm just pouring all of my blood into this public sink. It's quite a bizarre experience. Yes. But maybe we just need to know. But what if all people who were bleeding just stood like emptying their Moon Cup in a sink, and that was like common practice in a public bathroom?
I mean, it's just blood. It's less scary than I think all the other stuff that goes in the toilets.
Yeah.
Or less dirty feeling.
Yeah, I'd rather not look at their feces.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's...
Even though we like talking about poo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose also, Emma, like you say, lots of different things to try, but also they might change throughout your life as your periods change.
Yeah, of course.
Because I am curious about the sponges.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk really quickly about period poverty?
Yes, very important.
So, thinking about periods around the world, obviously there's different ways of approaching it based on cultural expectations and understandings around it. But in lots of places, there's poor period education and also poor access to all of these amazing resources that Jess and I have just talked about. But even here in the UK, period poverty means being unable to access sanitary products and having a poor knowledge of menstruation, often due to financial constraints. In the UK, 1 in 10 girls can't afford to buy menstrual products, while 1 in 7 have struggled to afford them, according to a survey from 2017.
That's so high.
That is really, really high. So that's because these products are quite expensive. And they have a high tax on them. There's the tampon tax you might have heard of. They're not seen as an essential item, even though condoms are sold as an essential item. So you have to pay extra. Some of the money goes to the government. And the better ones cost more money. So another reason, even still, I think, if thinking about transitioning to more sustainable products, they are expensive at first, but over time they end up costing you less. But also, I'm a believer that they're a really good gift.
Yeah, I think this is such a good thing that you said, Emma, because things, especially as we get older, we kind of want things that are necessary to our life, maybe, or that will really help us, and we're quite excited in new products which are sustainable, but they're maybe not things that you immediately buy for yourself. So yeah, I think I would love to receive some of those like pads which are
You all right, Ingrid?
PMT? Can you hear that, podcast listeners? Emma, when you were saying about tampon tax, it reminded me about some great projects which have been funded from tampon tax funding.
Yes.
So this is basically getting back some of that ridiculous money that has been spent on tampon tax.
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky that they're like, oh, here's some of it back, we have to apply for it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So you're just sending like funding applications. I'm not sure all the projects that it might fund, but for example, at Jackson's Lane Art Centre in North London, we got funding through tampon tax for a project called Women's Rise, which is an arts project which is for women over 55 who have experienced domestic abuse. So basically it was kind of like feeding back into, I imagine, for women, for people who have periods, using that money to just reclaim all of those years of paying extortionate tax.
It's worth investigating if you have some extra product, or if you want to buy an extra box where you can donate some sanitary items in your community. I know some food banks will take them, schools might take them, just to help people access these supposedly unnecessary items.
Homeless shelters as well. And it just reminded me, I saw an incredible performance by a cabaret artist in London at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, a queer venue, and their performance was all about when they experienced homelessness and being on their period. And it was such a clever, brilliant act, and it was really raw. It was like really got you in the feels. And it just so simply just put like, I can't afford and I'm just bleeding.
And of course, period poverty is not just about, I can't get a tampon this period. It has a long-term impact on a young person because they are then not able to, or might feel they're unable to at that time, attend education. As we said, there's a lot of shame around it. They might be missing out on things. It will weigh on them through the rest of their month, concern about that. And so it's got a much bigger impact than just those 4 to 7 days of menstruation.
And Emma, are there, I suppose, looking at cultural relationships with menstruation, are there other places where we can look at that shame or how it's treated?
I've got lots for you about that. So actually there was a lot of scholarly articles came up when I started searching. Maybe that's just because I'm tuned into academic web pages, but one said period shame is the source of patriarchal power, which I'm not sure that I believe entirely, but there is something about the idea that periods are dirty and women who bleed or people who bleed are dirty that has been used to enforce gender control and gender stereotypes. And still is to this day. So,
it's like somebody who bleeds cannot be angry without maybe a male referring to them as, you got your period.
So lots of places around the world use periods to exercise oppression on women. So I do have some examples here. A lot of obligations imposed on menstruating women are meant to protect others in the community. So there's an idea that the woman is a dangerous thing to be around when they're menstruating that still exists today. So for example, men are often thought to be at risk if they have sex with a woman when she's on her cycle, like we said in France. It says menstrual blood is considered polluting. In extreme cases, the Kodi of Samba, an island in eastern Indonesia, believe that sexually transmitted diseases are contracted by men who had sex with a menstruating woman. So again, a lot of it comes down to education too. More generally, there are cultures in which sexual contact must be avoided between a man and a woman on her period, such as Orthodox Judaism, Islam, and Rastafarianism, as well as in Bali.
Because I seem to remember from my studies of Judaism at school, is there a time where a woman goes to a bath?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. That after they've menstruated, they need to bathe to sanitize themselves. And that is the same in a few. In fact, I'm going to come to that in a second. To isolate during menstruation, they're forced to sleep apart in certain cultural traditions. There are, you might have heard of the menstruating huts, where women are meant to live in.
Yeah,
I
have. Yeah.
Outlawed in a lot of countries now and are slowly phased out, but still exist in India and parts of Africa as a sort of, again, a fear around periods. Oh, in Hindu societies, as well as in Bali, Bangladesh, and in Rastafarianism, the woman is not allowed to cook or come in contact with people's food while menstruating. And they must abstain from visiting religious sites in many Hindu societies, as well as in Bali, and in Islamic culture, and in the Shinto region of Japan, because they're meant to be, that's sort of blasphemous on the deities.
And I suppose that's so many years that somebody who has periods could feel such shame or fear.
Yeah.
Or, like, as you say, oppression, rejection from their community.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much the women there might believe it themselves, that they are blasphemous to the deities.
Yeah. Well, and here's where it comes to what you were saying about Judaism. For a woman to leave her unclean body behind in her unclean status, she must perform a ritual bath at the end of her cycle.
Right.
And for lots of those, that's a sort of spiritual event in a specific type of bath. It's not just having a shower.
Yeah.
It's a ritual that you must prove that you've been through as well, to prove that you are now seen as clean again. When actually, we've just said at the beginning, Ingrid's mum explains that a clean uterus bleeds.
Yes. So again, it is that we're very lucky if you do receive education and education that never had any stigma with it, because I just feel so sorry for people who have every period is a fear for maybe multiple reasons.
Exactly. But on the other side, we can't say that our Western way of viewing periods is the way forward, because actually we have a long way to go here in understanding what that process is. And some cultures around the world, lots of places around the world, have fantastic ways of celebrating the first period. So there's ceremonies involving food, family, friends, and gifts. Our custom in Nepal, South India, Bali, Bangladesh, Japan, Ghana, and certain places in South Africa as well. So though they might have sort of other problematic ways later on, the first celebration is a beautiful thing for a young woman to start, or a young person to start. Well, it is women in all these cultures, actually, because they would be less inclusive to start their period. And it's acknowledged by the community.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's something that we could take forward as fluff as well. Like, if ever we have young people in our future, then I suppose, and they bleed, then...
Yeah, I think if you're a parent, whatever you can do to take away the shame and to educate is amazing.
Yeah. And if you happen to be a parent or have some young people and live in London, there is just a lovely little museum opened in Camden, literally in Camden Locks, in Camden Market, which is a very famous place and you must visit if you visit London, called the Vagina Museum.
It's so good.
It is small, and like you kind of go in and there's just a few series of information, but it's really great to be introduced to the education of the vagina. And when I've been, I've always seen cisgendered couples, like male, female, and I've seen girls taking their boyfriends around and going, yeah, so this actually really happens. And then the boys are reading it going, what? Really? And I've seen them feel quite liberated that they can talk about it in this space. But I think you said, Emma,
I had a more negative experience where the people who work there are fantastic and they're full of knowledge, and all of the information on the boards is fantastic, and I learned things that I didn't know. Like, they talk about things like discharge and all of the stuff that happens that you don't learn about anywhere.
The discharge revelation and liberation was fantastic.
Yeah, but I was there. It was quite a busy Saturday. It was quite full when we were in there. There was a lot of people laughing, which is fine. I guess it's an uncomfortable thing. But the main thing was there was this one straight couple, I assume cis couple, who the man was saying, this is just so unnecessary, it's so in your face. And the woman agreed, and they just sort of completely missed the point. Particularly because the first thing you read when you come in is, why do we need a vagina museum?
Yeah.
And it explains all the facts that we've just said, which is that there's so little education on this fundamental process.
And I suppose the vagina is always thought about in a sexual way, often thought about, whereas actually this museum is about everything else about the vagina, and also everything around there, all the like the vulva, like explaining it all. And through also some great like art installations.
So cool.
The best gift shop where
oh my gosh, we bought them out. Ingrid bought 2 shirts. We bought cards for a year to give to people. I bought patches. I bought earrings. We went mad.
The book selection is fantastic.
Oh, that too.
Really lovely. And and it's all, don't worry about just getting the patches, fun. But it's run by volunteers, so do go and support them, donate some money their way.
And they have a massive gorgeous tampon covered in red glitter.
What more could you want?
Exactly.
A moon cup covered in red glitter. So thank you Vagina Museum.
Before we finish, Jess, just because I think it's funny, and we had the same sort of question in Poop-isode, what's the weirdest thing you've used to either mop up blood or to stop it in your pants? Because if you're ever caught unaware and you didn't expect your period that day, sometimes you don't have the products you need, and there's like an emergency oh no moment.
For example, you might fold all the toilet paper in there, but then the toilet paper disintegrates and you're like,
gets,
what
like,
a mess.
Stuck inside. It's not nice,
So any period stories that you want to share with us, you can keep them anonymous if you want. But also, if you're just feeling as open as Emma and I mean, we've gone there. So if you just are like, I'm going to share too, then please do get in contact at Fluff Creatives on either our Instagram or Twitter, or fluffinquiries@gmail.com. And also just sending our love and solidarity out to people who periods are a particularly difficult journey, whether it's kind of around medical reasons, or if it's around identity and gender identity. So just big love to everyone, and everyone show big love back.
Let's talk about it more. Let's love more.
After all, blood is red, and red is also the colour of love.
Don't forget Jess's big birthday bonanza. Cheerio! Thanks for listening, and don't forget to rate and subscribe.
We're excited to welcome you into our Fluff family and bring you some gorgeous sparkles every Friday.
We got a bit.